going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Case 347. So before we get too far into this video, I do want to talk about the fact that the reason I'm reviewing this film is because I was reached out to on Twitter by this girl named Jenna, who was a publicist for this distribution team. And yeah, she reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to see an early screener for this film and if I wanted to review it. This film will actually be released on March 3rd, so it's almost out, and it will be available on multiple streaming platforms like Amazon and Vudu. And I'll definitely leave more in the description box for where you guys can find this film. But yeah, I was really excited about the idea of being able to watch a movie before it came out. She told me a little bit about it. She pretty much told me that it was going to be a sci-fi, horror, thriller, found footage film. And before I even get too far into that, I do want to go ahead and be transparent about the fact that probably my least favorite genre is found footage. And it's not necessarily because I hate the genre on its own. There are really great found footage films, but I feel like it's a genre that sometimes I feel like it just can hit a very generic tone. And so that was something I was a little worried about going into this movie. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about this film. And I'm not going to talk spoilers, of course. The movie is not out yet, and I definitely want to leave all the surprises in there for the creators and everybody who is a part of making this film, so that you guys who go and check it out can definitely have a fresh experience when you go in. So like I mentioned, this film is a sci-fi horror thriller that is a found footage film. If you don't know what found footage is, it's essentially what a lot of people just call shaky cam, where the film is from the perspective of the people holding the camera. And a lot of times what really makes these films work for me is the fact that it does have a lower budget a lot of times, and it is something that kind of feels like you and your friends just picked up a camera, or you found footage of somebody's home videos that kind of just has this creepier vibe to it, because it doesn't feel like this pristine, very well shot film. It's a film that's meant to feel kind of shaky, kind of uneven, and like somebody's just holding a camera and just capturing a moment. It's not really supposed to feel like acting. It's supposed to feel very natural, very fluent, and just like regular people talking in a situation the camera just so happens to be on. And what I can say about this film going into it, and the further I got into it, that was definitely something I enjoyed about the film. A lot of the performances in this film are pretty solid, most notably from the character played by Maya Stojan, as well as the character played by Richard Gilliland. I think that's how his name is pronounced. Yeah, those two were easily the strongest performances in this film for me. And yeah, you know, I thought everybody else kind of gave a pretty solid performance. There are some performances that felt a little bit overdone, and some characters that felt a little like they felt like they were acting, and it felt a little cheesy, I won't lie. What I can say is, for the most part, I did enjoy the performances. I think my biggest issue with this film right out of the gate was there was just so much dialogue, so much exposition, and of course that is a huge thing when it comes to these kinds of films. But this is a sci-fi horror thriller with that mixed in, and we've seen things like Cloverfield. Now, of course, Cloverfield is this huge high budget version of what this movie could be in a lot of ways. But then you also have things like Quarantine that can keep a good mix of dialogue, as well as a lot of really exciting stuff that's going on, and some creepy stuff. Now, this film definitely had some moments of tension, some things that really made me feel uncomfortable, and some stuff that kind of had me on edge for a little bit of time. But the biggest issue I had with this film is it didn't really take long for things to kind of just shift from being kind of creepy back to kind of boring. I found myself kind of bored watching this film. This film does very much follow the format of these kinds of films, these found footage films, and it just kind of felt like a been there, done that, I've seen it kind of thing. Now, I don't want to diminish the craft put into this film, because you can tell the people who were making this film, that were a part of this film, definitely were having fun and definitely were committing to their performances and what was going on. I think majority of the performances in this film are believable, specifically, like I mentioned, the character played by Maya Stojan and Richard Gilliland, and then there's other people in there that have pretty solid performances in there as well. But I just felt on an overall level, the overall story and just feel and vibe and the runtime was spent with just a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions, and not enough of the horror sci-fi elements. You know, they're talking about aliens. The basic premise of this film, as you get going, is essentially you have this group of characters that are going to start interviewing different people and doing what they can to uncover essentially this case around these aliens. And yeah, I don't want to get too much further into it than that, but you know, you have this movie that is just a lot of people going around talking to people who have had experiences, characters that you'll see for a little bit and you'll never see again. And that's kind of how this film felt for me. You have this core set of characters that, you know, I enjoyed them for what they were, but I wasn't really attached to anybody outside of Maya Stojan's character. And even then, I wasn't really attached to her specifically, but I enjoyed her performances. She was believable enough that I was into what she was doing. And that's another thing I should say about the film, is I was never necessarily unengaged. I was into what was happening. I was interested to see where it would go, but I can't say I ever really cared about any of the characters. I wasn't really attached to what was happening in the sense that I really cared about the outcome. I was just interested to see where it was going. It kept my attention, but I can't lie, I was bored throughout a big chunk of the film. There were a lot of moments where I kept thinking to myself, I like what they're doing with the tone and the feel of the film, but there's just so much about it that just feels a little choppy, or feels like, okay, where are we going now? Or just like, I don't really care about what they're talking about. There was just a lot of people sitting down and talking. And again, I get this was a lower budget film. I do want to credit the things that really worked in this film. But yeah, those were some of my biggest negatives, is it just felt like the film didn't do anything new for me. I felt very much like what we've seen before in this genre. The performances, like I said, for the most part, were decent or good. Nobody really gave a bad performance. There were moments where some of the performances were weaker though. But you know, I think even in those situations, I was a little bit more forgiving as I was watching it. What I just really couldn't get behind was just the slower pace and a lot of the dialogue that just felt very samey throughout the film, and I didn't really find myself attached to what was going on. The movie ended, and it was just one of those movies that it kind of ends and it, you know, it's just like that was a movie and you turn it off, you know. I kind of hate talking about this film in this way because this is the first time I've been able to watch and review a film prior to its release and even been given the opportunity of a screener. So I am super grateful for the opportunity to do this, you know, but I also want to, you know, be able to keep the integrity of how I review my films and the way I see things. And yeah, this is just a film that I think for me didn't work on all levels. I think that if you were a fan of found footage films, it's definitely worth checking out. Like I said, I'll leave all the description information, or all the information in the description down below, so you guys can decide whether or not you want to check it out. And if it sounds like something that might be up your alley, go check it out. If you like found footage films, even the ones that aren't the best, or even kind of the ones that aren't very original, then definitely go check it out. I think it's a film that's worth checking out if you're into those kind of films. However, if you're already not really into found footage films and it's something kind of like me where you don't really like seeing the same things over and over again in that genre, it may not work for you. I do recommend it though, again, for people who are fans of found footage films. And you know, growing up, I have an uncle who is huge into alien conspiracies, and he would talk to me about alien conspiracies forever. And you know, some things really sounded crazy and loony to me, but then he'd show me documentaries, or he'd show me YouTube videos, or he'd show me all these little things, audio tracks of people talking about it. And it was something that, though he seemed a little loony sometimes, it was something I was interested in, and I definitely believe that there's aliens out there. So it's a topic and a type of premise that I was super into, and I think that that's why I was so interested to see where it would go. I just felt like the outcome kind of just didn't work for me. I don't want to spoil anything, like I said, but some characters just make decisions that are rash. Some characters just come in and out. They're feeding you information on why you should understand what's going on, but I don't know if you necessarily ever believe it or care. I didn't love this movie, and I was hoping that I would really enjoy it. I liked the poster, I liked some of the images that they sent me. The idea, the premise was really cool, but the execution for me in the end of the day, it's not really a movie I'm jumping to watch again. You know, I do recommend it, again, for people who are into found footage films, but yeah, just as a reviewer I can't recommend it on an overall scale for everybody. So yeah, if you go and check this film out, or maybe you've already seen it, maybe you've gotten a screener, or maybe you're gonna check it out, or you're gonna rent it, or something within the coming weeks when it comes out, definitely come back and leave your thoughts here. I am curious to hear what you guys will have to say about this film. I'm curious to see which people would like it, what people won't like it. I think this is a film that could work for some and could not work for others, but this, for me, it just didn't really do it for me. It was just a film that kind of was just bland to me. It was a film that has good performances and a good premise, but the execution was a little boring, a little slow at times, and felt very, you know, cut and dry, very just cut and paste of what we've seen before in this genre. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be my thoughts on Case 347. I wish I loved it more. I wish I enjoyed it a lot more. You know, thank you to Jenna and to Dark Coast for reaching out to me to review this. I had a great time being able to watch the film on its own, and you know, hopefully this video will be able to get more eyes on the movie so that people who, you know, this will be for will enjoy it more than I did. So that's the most positive way I can look at this situation. So thank you again to anybody who was watching this video. Thank you to Jenna, thank you to Dark Coast, and I hope you guys go check out this film just for the ability to go and support a smaller film. I think films like this do still need support, and I do recommend it on that level alone. So hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below on your thoughts on this film. Are you gonna check it out? Do you wanna check it out? Definitely wanna hear all those things down below, guys, and I will see each and every single one of you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.